I'm here with a few ideas about how you can improve your online instruction in the short term and then hopefully transform that into professional development for distance education in the long term. Effective online instructors recognize that there are new writing and reading literacies that go well beyond the traditional 5-paragraph essay and include things like building web pages, recognizing disinformation on the internet, and building other kinds of interdisciplinary content. Effective online instructors are thoughtful about multiple modalities and the non-linearity of content in an online environment. So for instance, being able to offer your students a video, audio, text, and game-based version of the same information so that they can access it on their own terms and through the format that best works for them. Effective online instructors help model for their students the use of computers for play versus work, because often students need help figuring out what's appropriate given the circumstance. Effective online instructors recognize different kinds of technological equity, whether that's the actual hardware students use to get onto the internet or the internet bandwidth itself, or whether students even have access to quiet spaces to be able to get online and interact with their peers. For individuals who have difficulty using a keyboard or using other kinds of internet interfaces, for instance those who have visual deficits, you need to think a little bit differently about how you can present your information, maybe through a podcast or a voice thread, something that your students can listen to as opposed to having to watch online. Effective online instructors recognize the different affordances of different kinds of video and audio communication technology, or the ability to even use online hubs like massively multiplayer games to communicate with other instructors or their students. We encourage K-12 and higher educators to do everything they can to explore new technologies and think about the novel ways that they could be incorporated into a classroom, whether face-to-face or online. Participation in an online environment as either an instructor or particularly as a student requires you to be a self-starter. In the literature, we call this self-regulation, which essentially means being able to create a physical space so that you're not distracted when you're trying to participate positively in an online learning environment. Because instructors don't have the same kinds of cues that they get in a face-to-face classroom while working online, you have to use other kinds of information to decide whether or not students are participating and to what degree. Learning management systems usually have built-in mechanisms by which teachers can track student participation in online environments, usually through when the student logs in, what pages they look at, and how long they've looked at those pages for. Rather than having your students complete something like a traditional 5-paragraph essay or a multiple choice test, this is an opportunity to have them produce something that's meaningful to them, that fits their community or personal learning environment, and actually takes advantage of the technologies that they're using to communicate on an everyday basis. One of the major reasons my colleagues and I recommend storytelling and role-playing as a means of instruction is because of the fact that it allows students to put on a particular role and demonstrate the skills associated with a profession as opposed to just talking about what that profession does. For more on the ins and outs of instructional game design and how you might bring games and play into your own online learning environment, check out Exploding the Castle: Rethinking How Video Games and Game Mechanics Can Reshape the Future of Education, a volume co-edited by myself and my colleague Dr. Michael Young. If you have any questions or want to share your successes with us, please let us know and we'll do our best to communicate them out to our community so that others can try the things that you're doing in your classroom.